In today's video, we're going to be tying Chan's Lady McConnell. This is a Chironomid pattern, great for lakes. I'm going to start off with the Daiichi 1190 dry fly hook. You can also use an 1180. This one's just a barbless version is all. And we're tying it in a size 14, but you can tie it in anywhere from a 10 all the way down to a 20. The first material we're going to take is just a few fibers of some Z yarn or Antron or Z-Lon. Any of those will work. I like something that has a little bit of crinkle to it. Just makes the trailing shuck look a little scraggly, which is the look we're going for. We're just going to tie that in right there at the front of the hook. And I forgot to mention we're using black thread. You can use either 6/0 or 8/0 depending on the size that you're tying. We're going to take that yarn all the way down here to the bend, trim out the yarn, the head, and we want to trim this yarn. This is kind of the scraggly part of the shuck. You want it to be roughly about half the length of the shank of the hook. There we go. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to tie in a Grizzly Hackle tip, just that little piece there, and this is going to kind of be the long piece, the trailing version of the shuck. And we're just going to lay that right on top of the hook shank. You want it to be about the length of the hook shank. So we'll let it hang off the back there, about a length of a hook. You want to center it right on top of the shank of the hook and just spiral your thread forward. Now we're going to tie in the body material. For that, we're just going to take some natural deer hair here. We're going to pull out all those fuzzy fibers there. Get rid of all those short, scraggly fibers. And you don't need too many deer hair fibers for the body of this fly. You only want, I would say, between a dozen to 20 fibers. Any more than that, and it gets too much bulk. Starts to look kind of like a humpy. That's not really the look we're going for. We just want to add just a few fibers just to give this fly the essence of having a body. We're going to tie those in right at the front of the hook, and the reason we do that is we want a nice smooth body as we go back here to the back of the fly. And this whole time I'm keeping these fibers centered and also on top of the shank of the hook. And we're going to take our thread about 3/4 of the way forward. We're going to pull all these fibers up and over. I forgot to mention, you want to make sure that you tie these fibers in all the way to the back of the shank of the hook. That way you don't have a little black piece of thread kind of peeking through. So make sure you get all the way back there and spiral forward. Now, since we tied these on the top of the shank of the hook, don't be too worried if there's some deer hair kind of showing through. You won't see that on the underside of the fly. And we take all those fibers, draw them up, pull them over, make sure they're really pulled kind of up on top of the shank of the hook. You want to be careful that they don't roll to either side. So I secure it with 2 or 3 nice tight wraps. And I go through that deer hair just a couple times to really make sure that that's not going to roll or go anywhere. And we take all that deer hair, trim it out of there. Couple more wraps just to make sure it's not going anywhere. If you got a few trapped fibers of hackle, you can just sneak in there, trim them out. There we go. Now we're ready for the hackle. Just take my Grizzly Rooster cape feather. You can also use a saddle, midge saddle. So measure it out there so that the barbs hang just past the point of the hook. We're going to tie that in there right in front of our deer hair body. Trim out the stem. Then drop our thread here right up at the eye. Now we're going to take that hackle and just give it a wrap around the shank of the hook here. I like a nice dense hackle on my fly here. And we can trim out any of the excess fibers here that are in the way. Give ourselves a quick little whip finish. That is a finished Chan's Lady McConnell. And I forgot to mention too, you can also tie this in different colors too. You can tie it in gray, red, olive, whatever color of body chironomids are coming off on your local lake. That is the Chan's Lady McConnell.